Welcome to the Modern Elite. Have you ever felt a connection with a woman and wondered if she felt it too, but couldn't quite be sure? Today, we're going to uncover 3 subtle signs that she may already be feeling desire. And believe me, the third one happens right in front of most men, yet almost no one recognizes it in the moment. Hello, and welcome back. I'm Mary Smith, host of the Mindful Senior Living YouTube channel. Many men sense something is there, yet struggle to interpret the quiet, nearly invisible signals a woman gives when desire begins to grow. Before we explore these signs, there's something important to understand. If you've ever replayed a conversation in your head, wondering whether she liked you, if you've ever left a moment only to later think you may have missed something, that doesn't mean you're awkward, clueless, or lacking confidence. It simply means no one taught you how to recognize the language of female desire, and that language is very different from what most men are used to. Men and women often experience attraction in different ways. For many men, attraction feels straightforward. You notice someone, feel drawn toward them, and want to move closer quickly. For many women, attraction unfolds gradually and quietly. It isn't a sudden leap forward, it's more like opening small doors one by one and waiting to see who notices. Women often test the emotional environment first. They observe, they create moments, they look for safety, curiosity, and mutual interest before allowing desire to move forward. And if you pay close attention, you'll notice something fascinating. Women rarely shout their interest, they whisper it. Those whispers appear in body language, subtle behaviors, eye contact, tone of voice, and the way she positions herself around you. They show up in moments so small that you might miss them if you're not paying attention. But once you know what to look for, everything begins to change. Patterns emerge, situations that once felt confusing start to make sense, moments that once slipped by become clear. And that's exactly what we're exploring today. Let me ask you something personal. Have you ever looked back years later and realized a woman might have liked you? Maybe a coworker who always found reasons to talk, someone at a gathering who lingered nearby longer than necessary, a woman who laughed at your jokes just a bit more than everyone else. At the time, you assumed she was just being friendly, but later you wondered, if that's happened to you, you're not alone. Millions of men have had the same experience. The reason isn't lack of awareness, it's simply that most men were never taught how to read these signals. So, today we're slowing down to explore 3 of the clearest whispers of desire. They aren't dramatic gestures or bold declarations, they're quiet signals that reveal when attraction has already begun. And once you start noticing them, your understanding of social interactions can shift dramatically. If you're enjoying this conversation, take a moment to tap the like button. It helps more people discover these discussions and allows the channel to keep sharing meaningful insights about relationships and human psychology. Let's begin with the first signal. The first sign a woman may already feel desire is simple yet powerful touch, not accidental contact or a casual shoulder pat. Intentional touch, even if she isn't consciously aware of it. In neuroscience, this is sometimes called initiating contact. When attraction activates in the brain, the body looks for subtle ways to reduce physical distance. Touch becomes a bridge. Picture this, you're talking and laughing together. As she responds, she lightly touches your arm and leaves her hand there just a second longer than necessary. Not long enough to feel dramatic, just long enough that your brain notices. That tiny pause matters more than you think because it often signals comfort, and comfort is one of the earliest foundations of attraction. When someone feels uneasy, their body keeps distance. Movements stay guarded, but when curiosity and warmth appear, boundaries relax and touch naturally enters the interaction. Sometimes it's subtle. She adjusts your collar jokingly, taps your arm while laughing, guides you through a crowd. None of these scream desire on their own, but together they form a pattern. A man once shared a story about meeting a woman at a birthday gathering. Their conversation flowed easily. At one point, she brushed something invisible off his sleeve. Later, she touched his arm again while laughing and again while making a point. Each moment lasted only a second, and he barely noticed. Months later, she confessed she had been trying to see if he felt the connection too. He had missed every signal. This happens often because men are taught to notice loud signals, but attraction is usually quiet. Research shows that people who feel romantic interest often lean closer, orient their bodies toward the person they like, and initiate small touches. These gestures aren't calculated. They emerge naturally when the brain releases bonding chemicals like oxytocin. Remember this, one isolated gesture doesn't guarantee attraction, but repeated patterns tell a story. If she repeatedly finds reasons to touch you, she likely enjoys your presence and feels drawn toward you. Now let's move to the second signal. This one lives in her eyes. The eyes reveal what words often hide. Humans communicate enormous emotional information through eye contact, interest, curiosity, trust, attraction. When a woman begins to feel desire, something subtle changes in how she looks at you. It isn't constant staring, instead it often appears as a rhythm. She looks at you, holds your gaze slightly longer than expected, glances away, then looks back again. That gentle cycle, look, soften, glance away, return, is a classic sign of growing attraction. Much of this happens automatically. Research shows that when we look at someone we find attractive, our pupils naturally dilate, an involuntary response controlled by the nervous system. But the real signal isn't measuring pupil size, it's the feeling behind the gaze. Her eyes soften, the intensity shifts. Instead of quick, polite eye contact, her gaze becomes warmer and more present. Imagine sitting across from her in conversation. She listens with focused attention, smiles gently, glances down shyly, then looks back again. That pattern feels natural and magnetic, and it often reflects attraction. Nonverbal communication experts have studied this for decades. In romantic interactions, attention often moves between the eyes and mouth, combined with warmth and attentiveness. She listens more closely, remembers small details, reacts emotionally to your stories. This isn't just politeness, it's genuine investment. Now we come to the third signal, the one most men overlook, a shift in space. When a woman begins to feel desire, she often creates privacy where none existed before. Think first in the femme de l'abbaye, and in most social settings, people interact in groups. But when attraction grows, she may look for ways to step slightly outside shared space. Not dramatically, just enough to create a moment that belongs only to the two of you. This might look like, "Come here, I want to show you something. Let's grab a drink." Lowering her voice and sharing a comment meant only for you. These small shifts create what the researchers call microenvironments, tiny pockets of privacy where deeper connection can grow. They allow her to observe how you respond when interaction becomes more personal. Does the conversation deepen? Do you stay present and relaxed? These moments act as gentle invitations, quiet ways of saying, "Let's step a little closer." No A in, say, a man once described an engagement party where a woman invited him to look at a photo album. The album wasn't the point. The moment was stepping away from the group changed the energy. The conversation became personal and lasted far longer than expected. She had simply created a private moment. When a woman creates this space, she isn't judging you, she's noticing whether you recognize the moment. Attraction grows best when both people remain calm and present, and that brings us to something important. Recognizing these signals isn't about manipulation, it's about awareness. Relationships become easier when you notice the natural ways people express interest. You don't have to force anything. You observe, respond, and stay present. Let's bring everything together, touch, eye contact, creating private moments. None of these are dramatic, and that's why they're often missed. Attraction rarely begins with fireworks. It usually starts with quiet curiosity. Confidence in relationships doesn't come from saying the perfect thing. It comes from awareness. When you understand what's happening around you, you stop guessing and begin responding naturally. And how you respond matters. When she touches your arm, you stay present. When she holds eye contact, you smile and continue the conversation. When she creates a private moment, you enjoy it without rushing. Attraction isn't something you chase, it's something you recognize and nurture. A man once believed he was terrible at reading women until one day he noticed these signals during a simple conversation in a coffee shop. She touched his arm, held warm eye contact, and suggested moving to a quieter seat. For the first time, he didn't overthink. He stayed present and the conversation lasted an hour. He later said, "I stopped trying to make something happen. I noticed what was already happening." That's the power of understanding human behavior. It replaces confusion with clarity, and clarity creates calm confidence. Here's a small challenge. Next time you're in a social setting, observe more. Notice who turns toward you, who maintains eye contact longer, who finds reasons to keep talking. You may be surprised how much people communicate without words. If this discussion helped you, support the channel by liking, subscribing to Mindful Senior Living, and turning on notifications. And in the comments, write the word whispers. If this helped you recognize these subtle signals, because relationships aren't about tricks, they're about understanding people. They're about recognizing the quiet signals of curiosity, warmth, and desire. Once you learn to see them, you stop wondering whether a moment matters. You begin to recognize when connection is quietly beginning. So the next time you notice a lingering touch, a returning gaze, or a small moment of privacy created just for you, pause and pay attention. Those quiet whispers might be telling you something important. And now you know how